Hello and welcome everyone to the Friday, September 29th, 2023 edition of the Contributor Comms team meeting. As a reminder, we do operate under a code of conduct, which essentially says to be respectful of your fellow speakers and attendees and generally be excellent to each other. Also, the meeting is recorded, which I don't mention as a reminder very often because I usually try to mention it before I do the recording, but I'll throw that in today. Before we hop into our agenda, I like to offer an opportunity for anyone who's new to this meeting to say hello and introduce yourselves. I don't think there's anyone new on today, but I will leave that sitting for a minute anyway. Welcome to unmute or type in the chat or do nothing at all if you would like to say hello. Cool. I think we're good to go. So I guess we'll hop right into the agenda. First thing on the list that I put in here is that the next meeting is my last before I'm out for probably 3 meetings would be best. So I'm here today, obviously, and I will be here next week, and then I'm out for 3. We had discussed interest in leading those meetings. I know that Nitish is interested. Avinash, I want you to lead at least one. I think Arpit, you had also mentioned interest in leading a meeting. Am I right about that?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm fine with each of you doing one. Avinash, you're the one that I most want to get experience with this. Are you okay with doing just one, or would you prefer to have a bit more experience? We can always make more opportunities for folks. I don't have to lead every meeting.
I'll do one and then I'll leave. If there are other folks who wants to do, they can do, or else if they're not there, I'll do my best with it.
Cool.
So that works.
And Natisha's done one before as well, so you can start or he can start either way. I'll make sure that you have the host code, Avinash. And if anyone has any questions and Chris isn't available, I'll want you to handle making sure that the meeting is hosted. Chris should hopefully be available the whole time that I'm out, though. So if you need anything, you should be able to lean on him. But I'll have you be the fallback there. Sound good?
Yep.
Cool. So for Nitish and Arpit, talk with Avinash and maybe Chris as well, to make sure that you have the host code before you host your meeting. We might want to decide on the schedule maybe next week. We don't have to do that this second, but decide who's doing each one. So maybe Avinash, you do the first one, Nitish does the second, Arpit does the last, or however we'd like to sort that out. We can finalize that next week. All right. So that's all I have on that. Any questions, comments, concerns about me being out for 3 weeks and other folks leading the meeting? Cool. If you do want experience leading the meetings, do let me know. We're kind of exploring how best to help people get familiar with that process right now, because while it kind of falls under the sub-project lead, it doesn't necessarily have to. It's possible that that could be a separate role in the future. So we're kind of exploring how we help people get up to speed on how you run the meetings. And it would be nice to have more than 2 people who are able to run them. So if you're interested in those skills, do let me know. Also, just generally let me know if there are skills that you want to learn, because I want to help you. So I'll move on from that. Let's talk about the KubeCon North America posts project, which still feels weird. So Sujay, Nitish, and Arpit are the folks that we have in a channel helping to organize. Sujay, you helped last time. Nitish also helped last time, but he was less available. So granted your experience with this project in the past, I was thinking of asking you, would you be okay with kind of being the point person for any decisions that need to be made while I'm out? Like, I expect you and Nitish and Arpit to work together on all of the work of managing the contributors, making sure that you review their tweets, making sure that you get everything into Buffer. But it's nice to have one person that's like, this is your responsibility. So if anything is falling through the cracks, hopefully you can kind of help shepherd it back into place. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in handling?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. We'll talk about it more on Slack.
Okay.
And also here.
Sure.
Yeah. I was thinking I should work with you all to create a doc of like, here are the tasks that you need to own while I'm out, and here's the deadlines that you need to make sure that you meet. So we can work together to make that on Slack.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. 1 week left. I'm trying to do all that I can to make sure that folks are supported in their tasks that they're going to have to do while I'm out. The main thing is I would like the ultimate outcome of this that I would love to see is the tweets ready in Buffer by October 30th. I think we might have set a different date on that, but October 30th is when I'll be back to look at them. So it'd be nice if they were all in Buffer by then, because I'll only be in for a week and I don't want to have to do all of that myself. And we set a deadline for all of the tweets to be written before that. I don't remember exactly when the date is.
It was 20.
20th?
Yeah, 20.
So then you, Nitish, and Arpit would have 10 days to get all of those into Buffer.
One more thing, who have access to approved tweets? I mean, approved drafts in Buffer.
Right. Chris currently has that access. Arpit, we need to make sure that you're ready to take on that responsibility. I don't think I'll be ready to hand that off quite yet, but we should discuss it more before I'm out for a week. But we should lean on Chris. I don't expect them to be approved by the time I'm back. I would like to see them in Buffer ready for approval. And I prefer, honestly, to approve them myself.
Okay. Just asking if someone needed.
Yeah. I'd prefer that none of them be approved, actually. So just leave that part off. Caslin to approve when she gets back. That'll give you all an extra layer of kind of security and making sure that everything is good before things go out, by having me go through all of them. I think that makes sense. Thanks for helping me think through all of this stuff at 8 a.m. on a Friday my time. Cool. Any other questions about I have one more thing on that. The tweet limit rule. I haven't talked about that yet. Thank you very much, Sujay, for suggesting that. I think it's a very interesting idea. I'm excited to see it tried out. So we're going to implement a limit. Like Chris said, maybe we'll go down to 5, but I think we start with 7 for each person.
Yeah, 7.
We have one person who's already done more than that. I think we decided we were going to take them off of future ones, but leave the ones that they had done. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, actually, there was no post left. So, as I mentioned in the Slack, I just remove some assigned ones.
Okay. I haven't reviewed that yet. I'll make sure to review that after this meeting. And we'll sync on Slack if we want to do more editing of the current state of the file.
Yeah, that feels bad, but I have to do that. Just look at it. Just
Yeah.
take a look at all.
My trepidation on 5 is we haven't had a limit in the past because there have been several KubeCons where we have not had enough contributors working on this project to get all of the tweets done. This appears like it's going to be one of those years where we have lots, which is wonderful. One of those KubeCons where we have lots. But we do periodically have cases where just nobody signs up. But having a rule in place for those cases where we have a lot will be good. Frederica, did you have something or did you unmute by accident?
Hello?
Hello. Hi, Federico.
Yes, sorry, it was by accident.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Bishal, for sharing the tweet project. I appreciate that we got a bunch of folks interested from that. Like I keep saying, part of the goal of this project is to provide an easy way for new folks to get involved. So I'm really excited to see lots of folks interested this time. Also, something that's come up so far in the tweet project is unique tweets. So we have all of the past tweets for folks to use as reference, and there's nothing really wrong with folks just copy pasting tweets from previous years. It helps us get it done. But it does kind of encourage this like over assigning work to themselves because it makes it really easy to do. So with the limit, I think that'll help with that. And I was thinking about it, and I think it would be good for us to maybe put some more processes in place to help encourage contributors to this project to write unique tweets, because that'll help them get experience with the process of like thinking through how do I write content. So I'm thinking about that and considering if we should implement any rules, or maybe I'm thinking a review process. Usually folks, when they get involved with this project, expect their tweets to actually be reviewed and them to get feedback. It's kind of hard to actually convey feedback through the Sheets tool. You can like put a comment on there, but you can't make suggestions like you can in like a Google Doc. So that's something for us to think about and discuss further as well. Cool. Any questions, comments on the KubeCon posts or tweets project? Cool. I think we've got a general plan there. We'll discuss more details in the Slack among the folks who are organizing that project. Thank you very much to everyone who has contributed so far, and we really appreciate your contribution. All right. So we'll move on to new items. There's one item here. Who put that in?
I did.
Ah, wonderful. Would you like to talk about it?
Yes. So in the last ContribEx meeting, Bob mentioned that Slack introduced a new privacy settings, which by default is turned on, which means that your contacts can share your info. I mean, your contacts with others, and it is default. So maybe many folks don't like it, or maybe they want to turn this off. So we should get this word out in Slack or maybe in Kted.
Right.
And one more thing, that we don't have any doc for Slack for end users. We do have for Slack admins. So that would be a good idea to create a doc for this.
Thank you, Sujay, for remembering this and putting it into the notes and actually going and finding some information about it and putting it in our Slack too. Yeah, so as Sujay said, there's 2 projects in this. One is immediate, which is helping to create some comms to tell people about the current change that just happened within Slack and that they might want to update their settings. So Jay, since you've already gone and found what those settings are and have a baseline understanding,
Yeah, it's a screenshot in comms.
yeah, you're already tech lead and you're also helping with the tweets. But what do you think about leading the charge on writing just like a draft of an email of like, here's what you would need to do, or maybe just like a draft of the instructions in a Google Doc so that we could turn it into an email?
Yeah, I can help.
Okay. Avinash.
With the same topic going, I would say, how are we planning to get this thing out? Like, are we going very much Slack centric because we are Kate's contributors? So I don't know, like the framing of that particular tweet or the word should be in a way that is somehow connected to Kubernetes and not be in general about only Slack. Like, how are we planning to get that word out?
Yeah, so I hadn't fully decided on that yet, which is one reason I was thinking, Sujay, maybe you just create a doc with like, here are the instructions. Once we know exactly what we need to convey, we can figure out how to convey it. My initial thoughts are that we'll definitely need a KDev email. That'll probably be our primary method of communicating this. For social media, we could make a post that points people to the KDev email. That might be the easiest way to do it because of the detail of this. If we had a doc that we were going to update on GitHub, we could post a link to that doc and say, hey, there's an update to the Slack best practices for Kubernetes contributors. Go check it out, something like that. But that doesn't exist right now. So I think our main thing is just going to be writing an email. And then we might write a social media post that points to the email. That makes sense?
But again, this is something which is a Slack user in general and not Kubernetes contributor. So I was talking about like, how do we present them that particular thing? Hey, this is a Slack thing, but somehow I personally want it to be like why Kubernetes is sending this thing, because it will be going out from Kubernetes itself. So that question of why Kubernetes is sending is what I'm looking for the answer.
Yeah,
Well,
last one for that. So I think can we just send it in Slack in channels or maybe using announcement bot instead of sending in KDev? Because it is not a Kubernetes related thing, it's a Slack thing.
Kubernetes and Slack are very intertwined. The Kubernetes community exists on Slack. So because Slack is a primary tool that we use to get our work done as contributors, the entire contributor community needs this information because we expect all contributors to be on Slack. So we should send it out to KDev because we also expect all contributors to be on KDev for announcements of this type is kind of what KDev exists for. So we expect the overlap between KDev and Slack to be 100%. There should be no need to explain, like, if you don't have Slack, maybe you should go get on Slack. Though we could mention that in the email. But I still think KDev will be our best method to communicate this, especially because it's going to be like a list of instructions. There's going to be like screenshots probably. Email is going to be the easiest way to format all of that information. It does make sense possibly to also put it on Slack. The issue with also putting it on Slack is that you don't have one place where it will hit everyone once. In Slack, everyone is in like a dozen, 2 dozen different channels, and you can put the message in all of them, but it's not actually relevant to basically any of them. There's the Kubernetes. There is one channel that it might make sense in, which is the Kubernetes. What did we rename it to? I think it's Kubernetes maintainers. I'm trying to find it. I don't see it right now. I'll double check on that. We used to have Kubernetes contributors, which was the channel that all contributors were supposed to be in. We had issues with that. We've recently renamed it. That would be the only place where I would consider putting it, but because that channel was recently changed, it doesn't have everyone on it either. So KDev is the best place. Kate's org members, is that I don't think that's the name of a channel. We considered that, and I think we decided not to do that name for some reason.
Yeah, it's Kate's org members.
Is that what we went with? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Because I'm in that.
Okay.
I remember I recently joining that.
Kate's org members. I actually don't have that. Browse channels. I'm gonna have to add that.
Yeah, it was
Kate's.
recently created. That's the
Yeah.
one.
I guess that is what we went with then. Bob did that change. So. All channels. Is it Kubernetes or members? Yes. All right. Yeah, it doesn't have very many members right now. Maintainers. Did we also do that? Nope, we did not do that. All right. I thought we were targeting that one, but we must have gone with org members. But yeah, not many people in that channel right now. So there's no really good channel for that on Slack. Some announcements, maybe. But that's owned by Slack admins, I think. So, and the rules on that are pretty tight, as I understand it. I can bring that up with the Slack admins. But yeah, we should mainly target Kubernetes dev, KDev, because we don't have ownership of the announcements channel, even if we wanted to post in there. We'd have to work through someone else. So the thing that we can own is KDev. That will hit the largest number of our target audience.
Okay, I will draft an email for the KDev.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Email would be lovely, or just the instructions at least, so that we have something to work off of like, this is what we need to communicate. Draft email would be about the same thing. So sounds good. All right. Cool. Any other questions about the Slack settings thing? Contributor tweet was a good friend. I'm not quite sure what that's referring. What made you think that? But yeah.
It helped some time ago.
Indeed, it did. It did. All right. So with that, I think we'll move into the board. All right. We have so many things ready for review right now. So Frederico, are you at a spot where you can update us on your stuff?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think so. Can you hear me well?
Yes. Yeah, you're
Okay.
good.
So yeah, I've added so with the issues and the PRs, that's slightly more crowded than usual, but the status is easy to share. One of the first in the SIG architecture series, the one on conformance, is ready for, well, it's reviewed internally, and we were asked to postpone 1 week more to provide the docs team with some time to give it another look. So that one should be the first to be published. So from our side, it's ready to go, but docs will provide their own input. I've already included some of the comments from Chris, etc. So that's that. The other one, which in the last status update, we had it in Markdown format. I've opened the PR for it as well. It's the one on production readiness. It's a work in progress, so it's still on hold, but just to be sure that I have all the right formatting there, and also that I will open the website PR as well as the contributor site one, but it's already in the system, both of them associated with the corresponding issues. No major update from most others, except from the contributor summit one, in which we already have the answers, and I've moved it into review. We now it's now currently in HackMD for a joint review with Noah, but I will share the link in our channel later today. So, and the next step will be to open the PR for that one as well.
Wonderful. And that one isn't tracked in an issue, right? We just have the
Yeah, I will
on the
open
board
the
for
issue
that.
as well. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I'll open the issue before opening the PR, and then I will replace the drafts that's in there with the issue. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, that sounds good. And you have the architecture conformance stuff in ready for review, but do you actively actually need review? It sounds like you're waiting on
No,
some
I
stuff.
mean it's ready for a review in the sense that it's being reviewed and it's not published yet. So
Okay. Yeah.
we have already reviewed it, but unless we add more columns to the board in which we have like waiting for other reviews, etc.
Yeah.
That one is essentially we already have content and we are in the process of making it available. So be the review done by ourselves or by third parties, which is the current case.
Yep. Makes sense. I think it makes sense to have both of those use cases in the ready for review column, but wanted to make sure that you didn't need anything actively from our team.
No, it's fine. That's no action needed.
Perfect. Sounds good. All right. And the actual first thing in the ready for review column is update to comms tech lead, Sujay. Looks like you've made some updates. Looks like I'm not logged in on GitHub, so I'm gonna have trouble today.
Yeah, just look into it and let me know if you have any comments, feedbacks, or anything.
All right, so that's ready for active review. Let me put that on my to-do list for the day. Cool. Thank you very much for going through that and giving it a first pass. We appreciate it, and I will try to make sure that I look at that in a timely fashion. All right. Cool. We'll move on from that then. I think that's good. Just needs review. The next item is SIG release, Spotlight blog, and I think Nitish is not on. Federico, do you know of any updates there?
I think there's no update from last time. There are a couple of reasonably small little updates that were requested by myself and by Tim Bannister, and I think it's just a matter of Nitish having a go at them, and that's it. So
Awesome.
It's almost there. It just needs that little push.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move on from that one. That one. Last time we had put the last week in Kubernetes development issue template up here as ready for review. It looks like, guess that wasn't an issue. It was just there. So FICA isn't on today, but if anyone wants to take a look at that, I know I didn't get to it in the last week yet. That is still there, and that feedback would go to FICA. So I'll put that on my own list. The template. Cool. So we'll move on from that one. And that's it. Yeah, that's it for the ready for review column. So we'll move on to the in progress items. This one is just the ones that are in the review. Next one is the SIG testing spotlight article. Sandapan, any updates?
Am I clearly audible?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No more updates. Last week, the SIG chairs have responded to most of the questions. Only 1 or 2 questions remaining. So we are just waiting for that.
Sounds good. I would update that, but I am not logged in today, so I guess I will not. Okay. Let me write a note to myself though. So your update on that is that you're waiting on a response from the SIG chairs?
Yes, they have responded to most of the questions. Only 1 or 2 remaining.
Okay. Waiting for. Writing myself a physical note. SIG test. Sorry, I am a slow writer. Alrighty, thank you very much, Sandapan. Next item is the book reading club. Since you didn't mention that, I assume you don't have any updates there, Federico.
No, but yeah, I've reached the week where I should ping Carlos as we agreed. So it's not delayed according to what we arranged. It's just in time for me to send him a note. And I suppose that next week there will be some change here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah, likewise for one of the spotlight ones on the code organization. Also, first week of October was the date that was provided to me, so I'll also make a check during next week on that one.
For which SIG?
It's not there because it's the SIG architecture series, right?
Oh,
I'll
okay.
update
Gotcha.
the main, but I'll update the main issue, the one that's is mentioning all the others with that information.
Cool. Sounds good. Next item is adding, just generally doing Zapier stuff. Chris isn't on today. She does lots of stuff with that. Sujay, you're not actively doing anything there yet, are you?
No.
Sounds good. Don't overwhelm yourself before KubeCon. All right, so the next item is the SIG node spotlight, which is ARPIT. Arpit, any updates?
Yep. So I attended the Tuesday meeting and it went well. So what we actually decided it, like I asked them how to actually save the blog because we are talking over the Slack, but any one of them didn't get time. So we actually discussed uh, actually how the blog will take on, and basically they proposed to like ask even very basic questions. Like I wrote questions which are like uh, about the cap, but they are like, if you because I am asking them about a couple of things, so they are like, write all of them in the blog, so that the blog can be more interesting. Also, they also say there are opportunity to contribute, like there are there's a space for some contributors to contribute if they want to write some go test cases. So if that information helps anybody, go ahead.
Excellent. Sounds like you're making good progress there.
Yep. I feel like in this blog, the task of getting responses is going to be a bit long.
Yeah. Sounds like they have specific ideas about what they want, which is wonderful. Ah, and Sunnypan beat me to it. I was looking for a link to post in the chat. I'll get to that in a minute. But lovely.
Also, I want to ask, like, is there any particular length about the blog, or like we can, like, is there any particular length for the blog?
Nope. There's no requirement for minimum or maximum length. It's really about making sure that we convey what the SIG wants to have conveyed. Yeah, so I'm really excited actually that they're asking for specific things and asking for new contributor stuff as well. We often try to highlight calls for help for the SIGs, like specific expertise that they need or projects that they need help with. But often those are looking for people with specific skills already. You'll have to see what all they want to convey. You're doing exactly the right stuff. Sounds great. So keep working with them on exactly what they want. Format your questions.
Let's
And
see
then-
if I file and if I can file a PR.
Yeah. Well, we usually Federico is the one that owns this process now, but usually the process is that we create a draft in Docs or in Markdown, in some other form like HackMD, and then the team reviews it before you create a PR, because the process of reviewing things on a PR is a lot messier than reviewing things not on a PR. So it's good to have an initial round of review outside of that. Of course, Federico has wonderful docs on how this process works these days. Arpit, I think maybe you're talking, but I can't hear you.
I said like I am talking about filing a PR in the SIG node.
Oh, okay.
And what about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I was saying that the process is, well, it's well described. We can adjust it, but it's well described. There's one thing about the PR that I haven't been enforcing, because I understand that people like the act of opening the PR. Okay, but I think it's worth like 30 seconds of discussion. So when I open the current document, the current documentation says that someone from the blogging team, myself or the shadow or whomever, will be responsible for opening the PR, with making sure that the authorship of the commit is attributed correctly. So you remember that discussion, co-authored by, that's done. So the commit goes 100% to the person that's described. Why is this? Because if afterwards there are like many requests for changes, updates, change the date, change the format, change this and that, we are the person that opened the PR is the one that most directly is able changes. Okay. So, and this was partially why in the beginning, when I joined, there was a move, and I was specifically asked to implement something that avoided problems that existed, and with people open the PRs and then not following them up or having difficulties in following the GitHub process, etc. As I said, I'm not strict about it because I can't even be very open whatever PRs they want. So I can work with whatever is preferred. Just be sure that when you open the PR, then the follow-up activities of making it conform with the process, etc. You must be comfortable with doing them, because they will only be doable by you. So, and that's for the PR. For the rest, as Kevin mentioned, make the content on Google Docs or something else. Then we can discuss how to convert it to Markdown. We generally put it in HackMD for a week or so that people can comment on it. And afterwards, we open the PR. I'll share the link in Slack later so that you can have a look. And I think it's pretty well described.
Yep. That's the gist. So you've got a process to follow. What I wrote down for your process, because I actually logged into GitHub now, is that you've met with SIG. They have specific things they would like to cover. It's developing well. You'll work on questions or a draft from here. Sound good for your current progress status?
There's one more update. Actually, when I'm researching, I found a old blog for old Spotlight blog for SIG Node as well.
Did we make a note about that? I don't see it here. Could you find the link to that so that I can put it in here?
I send it.
Ooh, perfect. It's from 2021. As long as it's been a couple of years since we've done a spotlight, we're happy to do another one. So
I actually also talked about this in the meeting. So they are like, they actually know about it, and they are like, that's why we want like this blog to be very specific, because our general blog is out, and if I'm not wrong, we are not going to remove the old blog, right? We are going to publish a new blog as a new one.
Correct. Good to know.
Yeah. You could, and I would personally make a link to the previous one in the introduction, for example. Like in 2021, we did blah blah blah. It's now time to revisit, etc. Just to connect things. But I mean, this is just personal preference. It's not something that you must do. But yeah, it's not going to replace it. It's going to be an update.
Wonderful. Also, Arpit, you've been doing so much lately. I would like for us to get your request for org membership in before I leave. So you should go ahead and get that filed at least at the beginning of next week. I think you're probably
like applying for the org membership is just filing a PR, right?
Correct. It's filing a PR and kind of listing, here's what you've been doing in the community. Ideally, you should have a couple of PRs. I think you do have a couple around that are like
the limit is 2, and I have about 2.
Theoretically, the main purpose of the way that we do org membership is to make sure that the person is committed to being part of the community. They actually need that level of access in order to grow in the community, which you do. So I'm not too worried about it, but yeah, we should list all of the things, hopefully a couple of PRs to make the case look good. So let's make sure to get that filed by the beginning of next week at least. And then you'll be able to update your own spot on the board.
Following up the Federico's suggestion, like I am thinking like as there is a journal blog on the SIG node, then I will be transitioning this blog to only the sidecar cap, because I talked to them. They are also like, if there is a previous blog which is actually highlighting the general specs of SIG node, then I can only focus the blog upon the sidecar cap. So I am thinking like that, like I can link the general blog in the introduction, and then I can start the blog about the sidecar cap. Like, how's that idea sounds like? Should I do that, or should I include some questions about the general specs of SIG node too?
Sorry. So the original idea, well, there was an idea at one point to focus this specifically on the sidecar cap, but it sounds like now they want a bit more than that. And the question is also if you should add in more general stuff about SIG-Node or beyond what they're asking you for now.
Yep. Like the initial questions what I prepared before the meetings are about the general aspects, like the previous blog, because I don't know the previous blog existed. But when they asked me to focus on the sidecar cap, I included 3 to 4 questions about sidecar cap. But as the sidecar cap is a very long project, like I can ask literally tons of questions about that. But I need to select what to ask and what not. So I asked them, and they are like, if there is a general blog out, then I can only focus the blog on the sidecar cap. So I am just asking, like, this approach will be okay.
I would, I'm on a car, so maybe I've missed a bit, but I wouldn't personally limit yourself because of size issues, or is it too long, or is it maybe I should cut it out and just focus on that. I would write the article and the interview with all the content that you think it's useful and interesting, because after you have the content, you can then have the option of looking at it and saying, well, this perfectly fits in one single article, or I mean, this is pretty large and we are covering 3 completely different topics. One is the generic about the SIG, the other is about the specific item, and maybe we could add sorry, someone is calling me. I need to.
That's okay. I think.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, maybe someone. So what I was saying is that if you already have content that is more generic in nature, I think that's perfectly adequate to the Spotlight article. If you then drill down into some specific aspects of the SIG, that's even better. So it's great to have it. And I think that you can perfectly structure a single Spotlight by working with headings, right? Like this, and that. And in the end, when you have the entire content, you can look and we can decide together what to do. But I prefer more than less, because you can cut things out, but getting content is much it's much more difficult.
Rodrigo makes a good point. Sound like a good plan?
Yep. Just I have a worry about I don't send them a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But after the meeting, they are write even the basics one, because the whole team will be going for the interview. So I still didn't send a doc for them because I am still finalizing the questions doc. So maybe I will send them next week after finalizing all the questions. So that is the basically update.
Okay. Sounds good. You know where to find us if you have questions as you're going along. All right. And we only have 2 minutes left. SIG release, Natisha's not here, so we won't go over that. Tech lead shadow requirements is ready for review.
I need to drop. Sorry, 1 minute
all good.
Earlier. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You.
I'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Yeah. Steering election is concluded. announcements about the results will go out next week. So I'll move this to done next week. Thank you very much again, Arpit, for all that you did there. And NA tweets are in progress. API machinery, Bishal, you want to take over Kate's infra, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I wanted to fit that in earlier and I didn't manage to. But ping Frederico on Slack to oh, that's already in here, to make sure that he's aware of it and able to help guide you. We sent you the link to the resources, so you should be good to go to get started. Don't hesitate to ask questions.
Yes. I'm just looking forward to just preparing all the questions, and we'll ask you for feedback as well. Like what should be the questions and all the other things. And I'm trying to take reference from the previous blog, which I've got recently.
Yep.
And yep, I'm looking forward to it.
Perfect. You got it. It's all about learning something new and teaching everybody else what you learned and helping to support the SIG.
Of course.
Hope you'll have fun with it. All right.
Definitely.
And there's no updates on any of these other things either. So we are right at time. Any last minute items folks have for the recording? I do have a meeting right now today, so I can't hang out late. But any last minute items? I think we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Bye, YouTube.